All right, we are live. I was just about to write in the chat that we're going live instead of announce it. So, hello everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We are just about a week away from the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, and it is Motorcycle Awareness Month. So if you may have noticed, I've been posting 2 videos a week during the month of May, and I am so excited for you all to meet Leslie, fellow lady rider and author and psychiatric nurse, and yeah, she's great. So a little bit about her before she comes on is you may have seen Leslie if you got the 2022 Women Who Ride calendar. She is in the calendar. She is Miss June. Sorry, you can't get the calendar anymore. It's sold out. But that's her right there on her Zero motorcycle. So I picked her before her book even came out. I picked her as part of the calendar last year because I just thought she had such a cool story. And that was she grew up a pretty difficult childhood. She had oh my gosh, I almost forgot the word. She had a schizophrenic mother, and so from there she got an anxiety disorder, and motorcycles has been just a large part of her life, or just kind of always there. Like she had cousins who rode, her dad rode, her uncle rode. She's Filipino, but so she was saying, kind of like for my family who's from the Dominican Republic, it's pretty normal for guys to ride, not so much for ladies to ride. But yeah, so it's been something in her life a lot, but she never started riding herself because she had the anxiety disorder. And since then she is just an amazing example of someone who has gone through hell and back and just completely come out of it so much stronger because of it. She is now a mental health psychiatric nurse. Leslie, whenever she comes on, she can make sure I said that correctly. And she got her motorcycle endorsement after her 50th birthday, or maybe on her 50th birthday. She rides a Zero motorcycle now, and she talks about this and more in her book, The Zen of Learning to Ride a Motorcycle. And I love this book so much. I couldn't put it down. I read it in 4 days during a work week. I don't like to stop working, but I literally could not put this book down. So, and the book is not specifically about motorcycles. It's about her life that is just enthralling. And then she puts in bits and pieces of the lessons of learning to ride and relates it to life. So without further ado, let's bring Leslie on right now. Hello, Leslie.
Hi.
Welcome on.
Thanks for having me. I am so happy to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. Everybody, thank you so much for waiting as we had technical difficulties.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're gonna hear a little bit from Leslie, and then we'll play this by ear. We can be flexible, but the plan is not that everything always goes according to plan. The plan is maybe the last 15 minutes of the live stream. So Leslie, if you have time, because we started a little bit later, if you have time to go over a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. So we'll go for an hour, but I'll look in the chat and see if you all have questions and direct it towards Leslie. But anyways, Leslie, so I've talked enough. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your book, what's in your book, what you ride to. Yeah, just stuff. Go ahead.
Incorrect. I am a psychiatric nurse.
Mm-hmm.
I am half Filipino. My father was from the Philippines, so just wanted to let you know that you did get those right. You got everything right. Yeah, there were always something that was in my family. Mm-hmm. And even my boyfriend, who is now my husband, rode motorcycles. He tried to teach me like 25 years ago, and I was terrified. And, you know, when you have a panic attack disorder, it's basically your fight or flight response is going haywire when you're not necessarily in danger. So when when you are doing something that is potentially dangerous, like learning to ride a motorcycle, it's almost, paralyzing. You just,
Mhm.
you can't safely learn to, fear is one thing, but you can't safely learn to do something that's that challenging if you're freaking out all the time.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
don't, between when my uncle died and my cousin told the story at his funeral, which is the
Mhm.
stories about that is in my book.
Mhm.
I just was like, I'm really sad I gave up. And Doodle, you're a huge inspiration to so many women that
Oh,
are,
thank you.
because you're so honest about
Mm.
falling down,
Mm. Mhm.
and
Oh,
you're so
yeah.
honest. There,
Mhm.
there was one video, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up because it's not up on your page anymore, but you talked about a friend told you you were a serial dater and you got really
Mhm.
irritated, and I
Mhm. Mhm.
like cycles are like the cure for codependency. Like
Mhm.
you
They
learn
really are.
to rely on yourself, right?
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that's really, when my cousin told the story at my uncle's funeral, and she just said, my uncle had told her, oh, you fell off a motorcycle. You have to get back on, or you're going to be afraid. And we're going to go to the store, and we're going to buy the parts, and we're going to show you how to fix it. And it was
Mhm.
really controversial because she was very young and she's a female.
Mhm.
It was in the 1970s.
Yes.
I
Uh-huh. That is so cool. I thought that was
Yeah,
so
my
cool.
family
Yeah.
was freaking out. The women were like, "Are you crazy? Uncle Pete is crazy. What's wrong with
Mhm. Can only imagine. For sure. Oh, yeah.
him?" Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm. So, yeah, that is so neat. Yeah, I love how you called your cousins how your uncle wanted to make them James Bond girls by teaching them to shoot, ride motorcycles, and fix their own motorcycles. Like, I'm like,
yeah,
that's so
yeah. And my cousin Margarita, like just
cool.
recently, she's like, "Well, my dad was letting us watch those James Bond movies when we were like really little. Like, was he crazy?" Yeah, I feel like my cousins would complain because and there's probably some cultural similarities in your background where the men are a little overprotective, and so there was this really fine line between I want you to know how to change your own oil in your cars, but don't wait too long to get married. I don't want you to be an old man.
Mm.
So it was like James Bond girls. That's what I always would say to them.
Yes. How has actually this question, I because some of the questions I might ask you are like I know they're in your book, so I'm like, oh, that's a cool story. Let's talk about that. But this one I actually don't think you talked about in your book, and that's kind of how has well, you kind of touched on it, but kind of how has your relationship changed with those cousins who rode when you were growing up, and now that you recently are starting to ride too? Has that
Yeah,
changed your relationship with them at all?
we reconnected because I told
Mhm.
them I was writing the book, and we kind
Mhm.
of connected when my uncle died at the funeral
Mhm.
and started talking again. And then
Mhm.
we did right. Well, we were talking right around the pandemic. Well, when these restrictions get lifted, we should take a trip to the Philippines. So saying that
Mhm.
out loud, I think I should bring that up again with them.
Mhm.
To go this year, and then things were still kind of weird again, and then now I wrote the book and I've been busy with that. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely feel like you know my cousins reached out to me and were like, oh wow, I totally remember this stuff, and I feel like it helped us reconnect for sure.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, motorcycles, they're a great icebreaker, great
Mm,
point of connection, great way to just like instantly have something to talk about with people. I don't know if you have that problem though. At least from your book, I got the sense that you're very outgoing, but that could just be because I'm reading it. I don't know how you are how usually you are in person. Would you say you're this kind of the same way? Like love to share stories?
yeah,
Um,
true.
mhm,
It's funny. I guess I am. I'm kind of outgoing on the outside.
mhm, mhm,
But I would say, I am a little awkward in social situations.
mm.
And I really
I
feel
understand
like,
that feeling.
yeah, like
Mhm,
the motorcycle sort of helps me, like have something to connect with people. So,
Yes.
when I get nervous, I just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And some shut up, like if you're writing a
Mm.
book or a song, you can say
Mhm.
anything and people are like,
Mm.
but like if I talk about some of that stuff at work,
Mhm.
hello,
Mm.
hello,
Right.
principal, this in school.
Yes. Yes, I sometimes I feel the same way about even like YouTube videos. Like the things I'll say in videos, I won't necessarily say in a conversation, unless someone directly asks. Like,
Mhm.
um, well, for one thing, I won't talk for 9 or 10 minutes straight with to someone's face too, like I would in a video. But yeah, but yeah.
Mhm.
Well, can you talk a little bit about so your first bike, the Zero motorcycle,
Yeah.
the electric bike, a lot of torque. But how was learning on a electric motorcycle with what's the torque on that?
Like 78 foot-pounds or
Oh my
something.
gosh.
Something
Yeah.
like that. It's like
Mhm.
my husband has a Harley Heritage Softail,
Oh, nice.
and that
Mhm.
one has 86
Mhm. Yeah.
foot-pounds. So like this little
Mhm.
thing is like, but
It has
yeah,
more torque than my bike, actually. The Street Triple R, I'm pretty sure.
it probably has. Well, you rode the electric. Are you going to do a video on that? Because I would love to see you
I
do.
I actually didn't bring my vlogging equipment when I rode it. So
Oh,
I mean, I had a GoPro, but I didn't have like a voice recorder. So, but anyways, I really didn't get the full effect of it because it was on a demo ride.
mhm.
So in a large group, and we had a group leader, so I couldn't get the full effect. I just like little bits, but yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
what happened was when I took the MSF course, my anxiety, I was having a hard time with the anxiety. And I was lucky enough, there were
Mhm.
several women instructors. And one of the women realized that they had a zero, an old zero, like an
Mhm.
XU from 2012. So they put me on that and I ended up finishing the course on that. And then I signed up for a private lesson and then I did all the shifting. But I really loved the ride of the Zero. Um,
Mhm.
however, uh, they don't make the XU anymore, like which is like a
Oh.
really good beginner bike. So I got the base model that they had. It was so tall.
Mm.
They lowered it, they shaved the seat down, and then I bought a pair of boots that had 2.5 inches on them, literally.
Mm.
And I'm
Oh,
still,
wow.
but your
Mhm.
videos were like, you can do it. You can
Yes, you can.
there were a couple times I was like, she's crazy. Why is she?
I
Because
am though. I am a little crazy. I will warn that.
yeah, but it was worth it. You're right. You were right. You were right in the
Mhm.
end. All I needed to
Mhm.
do was sit in my garage like a bunch of times, and
Yeah.
I practiced putting one foot down, building the muscle memory.
Mhm.
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 But yeah,
Yeah.
this bike, it was a little tall, a little top heavy.
Mhm.
Yeah. The challenge of I traded one challenge for another. I traded the
Mhm.
challenge of learning to shift gears with the challenge
Mhm.
of managing a too tall bike with a lot of torque and the
Mhm.
throttle, which is, if you're on an automatic transmission motorcycle, it's always in gear. So
Mhm.
if you touch the throttle, it goes.
Mhm. Mhm.
But you videoed yourself wiping out. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
really inspiring because it's like
Aw.
she has this thing, this great
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's worth it as long as you can go push past difficult the difficult learning stage that is
Mhm.
sometimes harder for others than it like some people just catch on to riding really quick or they just have like their body it's easy for them to keep bikes from falling over.
Yeah.
I was not one of those. I know
Me,
you understand that feeling. Yeah.
the drop bars are
um,
friend.
oh yes, I saw you added those on yours. Those are
Yeah.
nice. They're nice and wide too. That must help picking it up
Oh
easier
hell
too.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's what I really wanted something like that for my bike. Because when it falls over, it's like, it's like practically totally flat. I'm like, this is so hard to pick up. So, but I haven't been able to find ones that fit my bike that
Mm.
will keep it like at an angle. Um,
I want to ask you a question. When you
yes.
were learning to ride,
Mm.
did you feel like there was this point like where you were just scared, and then all of a sudden one day you weren't? Or did you feel like it was like gradual?
Um, uh, I think I would say I I was scared a lot, and pretty much for every next step. So I stayed in parking lots for months, and the next step was go to a neighborhood, and I was so scared to do that, but it was okay. I crossed the street with lots of cars around me, and then got into the neighborhood, and I felt safe because there was barely anyone around. But I like the next step after that was highways, and I was terrified to do highways, and I didn't want to do it. But then one day, my car that I was originally towing my bike around, the
Mm-hmm.
transmission failed, so I couldn't tow it, and I had a class to get to like 40 minutes away. So I'm like, okay, I can either miss the class or ride the class. So I rode the class on the highway, and I thought that wasn't so bad. So a lot of the fearful parts of motorcycles, I was kind of in a situation where I was almost forced to do it, and then I realized it was okay. Um, yeah, that was me. How about you?
Oh yeah, I was
Mhm,
terrified. Like
mhm,
honestly, even the first few months I was riding, I wasn't even having fun because I
mm,
was so scared. You
mhm,
know, and the first time I took my motorcycle out on the road,
mhm,
I went up on a sidewalk and then I
mm,
grabbed the brake too hard and hit the throttle. So I did the whiskey
mhm,
throttle and I slammed it into the ground. And my poor
mm.
husband was like watching me from the bottom of the hill, just going, "Oh no!" Like
He probably forgot what it's like to be new and learning.
yeah. Once I got over the
Mhm,
sheer terror, I was like imagining what I looked like to my husband and I like could not stop laughing, but I
mm,
was terrified
mm,
for
mhm,
months. And I'm in Los Angeles, so
mhm,
I really couldn't get out on the road at all until I was
mm.
felt like really confident, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, LA traffic is crazy, like,
Yeah.
at all hours of the day. Even
All
at, like yeah, it's like, I was there not too long ago visiting my sister when she used to live there, and we were out, like, on a 10 o'clock at night on, like, a Wednesday, and it was still packed. I'm like, "What?"
yeah.
I thought there was an accident.
8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's
Yeah,
what makes
seriously.
out here. There's just no
Uh-huh.
way. And I
So
don't
how do
know,
you do it?
huh?
So how do you do it? How do you ride in LA? I mean, I guess you're more used to it now, probably, but
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know how people do it honestly with a manual transmission. Um,
Mm,
my
mhm.
husband and I are moving to a more rural area, and so I'm getting a
Mm.
gas bike,
Oh,
and
yeah.
be able to to shift gears better out there. Because here it's like my husband counted I think 32 traffic lights to get to this one area, like to this area Palos Verdes, which is a beautiful ride. We only live
Mm.
miles from there, and it was like 32 traffic lights because he's shifting gears, so he's counting them.
Oh my
That
gosh.
of the electric motorcycles are perfect for city riding and traffic, definitely.
Mhm. Oh, I bet. Yeah, that must be nice.
Yeah.
Have you, oh, and by the way, people asking questions in the chat, I'm taking screenshots so I can get to your questions towards the end. Um, but, just so you know, I'm not ignoring you. I just don't wanna miss what Leslie's saying
Oh.
because yeah, 'cause I've done that before, like, read the chat, and then the person's talking, and then they're done talking, I'm like, "Oh, what did you say?"
But
So I'm like yeah, so I'm like, "Oh, I can't do that. I need to pay attention to the person, and not the chat until towards the end." Yes. Guess another question is there anything specific about, motorcycles that kind of relate to oh wait, no. First, you know what? I want to ask something up what you just said, how you were terrified for months. How did you like what how did you know it was going to be worth it? Like why push past the fears? Like so many people stop at fear.
yeah.
How did you know it was worth it to keep going?
I just honestly I wasn't sure.
Mm.
I spent those electric motorcycles are so expensive. I was like, I have to freaking learn how to ride this because
You're like,
I'm
I bought
upside
it,
down
now I got to.
now and I can't sell it. So I have to learn how to ride this. I
Mm,
absolutely have to learn how to ride. And there was a couple
mhm,
times I thought maybe I need to get it like a Honda Rebel 300. Like I've
mhm,
out motorcycled myself with this bike.
mm,
It's
mhm,
powerful.
mhm,
But honestly, I wasn't really sure. But and I think I thought about nursing school a lot because nursing school was similar where it was like
yeah.
so and so hard, but it was so
Mm,
worth it. Like I just
mhm,
think I'm never gonna push through it. So now
mhm,
I feel like I have these two things in my life to I can look at and be like, okay, you never thought you were gonna get through nursing school, but you did. And you never
mhm,
thought you were gonna be able to ride a motorcycle without being terrified, but you are.
mhm,
The next challenge in life is is I didn't think I was gonna be able to finish writing a book either, and that happened as
mm,
well. So um,
mhm,
the more you pick yourself up when you fall down and push through that fear, the more
mhm,
you're gonna have in life.
mm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, I have people ask me sometimes, like, how did I overcome the fear of writing or like to quit my job and do YouTube full time or to scuba dive. And every time I'm like, I'm still scared all the time.
Yeah,
I just I
scared all-
just really, really want it. And I don't know. I think for me, I've just learned that my fear is unhelpful has been unhelpful and incorrect.
right,
At least in my case, some people's fear may be more logical and help keep them safe. But for me, I'm like, if I listened to my fear, I would not have anything I wanted in my life.
right. Well,
Yeah.
fear is one thing. I think it's the anxiety, and
Mm,
when you're thinking about the future that hasn't happened yet.
mm,
Like,
mhm,
oh, what if I crash my motorcycle? Well, you did it.
mm,
You haven't. So you're wearing
mhm.
a helmet and you're wearing your gear and you're wearing your boots and you put on your bright yellow rain suit when you're to make yourself visible, and then you just focus
Yes.
as safe as you can when you're on your bike. Because
Mm, mhm.
there's plenty of people that don't ever have a motorcycle injury. There's lots of people
Mhm.
who do, but you know, you have to deal with what's in front of you, right? Which is
Yes.
protect yourself. And that's what that the part in my book about stealing from the future, planning for the future,
Mm,
putting your gear on. Stealing
mhm.
future is, oh, I don't have time to put it on. I'm
Yes.
race to where I need to go.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. You said that in your book about when you started racking up credit card debt when you were early 20s or in
Yeah,
college.
yeah,
Basically, yeah, stealing from the future. And I'm like, that's now how I view like that term has just in my head.
oh cool.
That phrase, because I'm like, that's so true with so many things. Like that's why I like barely drink alcohol anymore because the next day I feel horrible. I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe this is something for like when you're in your 30s. I'm like, I'm stealing tomorrow's happiness tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. That's so
Yeah,
smart.
yeah.
Ricky, thank you for the super chat. I just saw that go through. Um, I took a screenshot of it thinking he took a answer to ask the question, but he didn't. So because I wanted to make sure I got it, but I wanted to make sure I said that. Yeah, yeah. That was a nice little uh, golden nugget you had there. The stealing from the future. That
Yeah.
I really like that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't steal.
Mhm.
Plan for it. Don't live there. Doesn't.
Yes. Yes. um, and I think this one may help a lot because I know a lot of you all watching. I mean, most of my audience are guys, and a lot of you will say that you like to watch my videos with your girlfriend or your wife, or you like to send my videos to your girlfriend or your wife, either because she just started riding or you want to encourage her to start riding. Um, and Leslie, so you were with. Oh, we lost Leslie.
Oh, am I here?
Oh, you're here. You just went
Okay.
just went black for a second.
I think my screen went.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry.
So Leslie, I'd like to hear what you have to say from the other side because you're with your husband who had been riding since he was a kid, right? And
Yeah.
you started and you've been riding for how long now?
Oh, almost. Let's see, a year and a half. About
A year
almost.
and a half.
Yeah.
So what was it like? Like was because then you mentioned your husband tried teach you to ride. So what was that like? Was as far as him trying to teach you to ride or him trying to
Uh,
get you into riding? Can you tell
I
us a
was
little bit about that?
young. I was just like, oh, cool. When he brought it up, his roommate had this 50cc YSR. If you've never seen these things, you have to Google them. Google it. It's a Yamaha YSR 50, but it was a street legal sport bike with full fairings. It's like the cutest thing you've ever seen. And I think
I'm
it
gonna
only
see if I
weighed
can find
like 80 pounds. So, they had one of these, my husband and his roommate. They took me to a parking lot and tried to teach me, but I was like so terrible. I was having the anxiety issues, and
Mhm.
I took the DMV test, and I was like just going so slow that when you're going that slow, you can't control the bike. I kept putting my foot down, and then
Mm. Mhm.
that summer, my husband, or he was my boyfriend at the time, he had just bought a 1993 GSXR, which he still has. And
Mm.
he was like wanting to ride it. He didn't want to be in a parking lot with me. So I was like,
Mhm.
whatever. I just went on the back, and I was just like, forget it. It's not for me.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but I think one of the big things, see, my family, they all rode dirt bikes, with
Mhm. Mhm.
kids, and then they rode motorcycles, and everyone that I knew did it that way. So I didn't
Mhm.
know that there were people who like just went to an MSF course and decided
Mm.
to learn how to ride. And I know in one of your early videos, you talked about how you didn't even know that they were manual transmissions.
Oh, yeah, I had no idea bikes were manual. Yeah. I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah. And so you were like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
that was funny. And I'm like, wait a second. And I remember specifically the summer my husband bought his Harley. He'd been talking about wanting a Harley since he was 25.
Mhm.
So the summer that we both turned 50, it's like, we're not getting any younger. Do you want to start hitting this bucket list or what? So he bought the Harley. And then
Mhm.
after we took the first ride on it, I was like, I want to try to learn how to ride again. And your profile picture on your YouTube page was specifically on my mind when those words
Mm.
were coming out of my mouth, Doodle.
Mhm.
They were, I
Aw.
your face in my head and
Mhm.
he was like so mad because we just moved from this rural town, New Jersey, where it would have been
Mm.
a lot safer to learn.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
he's like, we're gonna do this right. Let's get a dirt bike. But then I ended up
Mhm.
taking the MSF course. I had no patience. I'm like, I want to learn now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's like learning to ride, like, guys, I know you wanna teach your wives and your girlfriends to ride, don't do it. If you
No,
wanna have a happy relationship, don't do it.
you
Let
can't
somebody
teach
else
them.
do it.
Freaking out,
Mhm. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
gonna have to deal with her crying, have to deal with her having panic attacks. You don't wanna deal with that. Let people she's paying to deal with
yeah.
that, deal with that. Like at the MSF course, and yeah, I don't know what it is, but I hear horror stories all the time of significant others trying to teach each other to ride. It's a lot of tension. Comes at beautiful.
It is, yeah. And and I feel like everyone really has to find their own journey. Like my husband would have
Mm.
never told me to buy that
Mhm.
motorcycle.
Mhm.
I had to buy my own and figure it
Mhm.
out. And, you
Mhm.
know, I still have
Mhm.
this dirt bike. We're moving somewhere closer to dirt bike riding, but I love street bike riding. So I've been like going back and forth between wanting to sell my dirt bike and buy a gas bike because I do want to get like a gas bike too eventually. I'm not,
Mhm.
you know, cycles, but he's like, yeah, that's him. He's like, just wait. We're going to be living really close to a dirt bike, park, and see, we'll see. But see, it really
Oh, nice.
journey. Yeah. Oh, you could, yeah.
Nice. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous of you. So, when are you going to move to this rural area where you're going to be close to a dirt bike park and all that?
We're moving actually next week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I have an address here with my aunt in Los
Mhm.
Angeles because I just made so many friends down here from the motorcycles. I'm like, and they all live on that part of town too. So I'm happy that she's gonna. I'm actually considering at some point keeping my electric motorcycle in LA because it is such a city bike. And then
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah,
Oh
so
yeah. Oh nice. Perfect. Might as
yeah,
well if you can have it multiple ones in multiple places.
actually,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna get I'm trying to get a trailer like you did, though. The day that your transmission went out, I have to wonder if you if it was because you're towing a motorcycle around.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah,
When
I think it was. So I was towing with a Chevy Cruze, and the towing capacity is 1,000 pounds. And I was like just at that with my bike and the trailer, and I was trailering it a lot. So
yeah,
I think I did that myself. But
yeah. So I'm
but
wondering because
also Chevrolets are crap. I'm never buying a Chevrolet again.
I
Constant issues.
Peru with like the same towing capacity. So
You
I
have a
don't,
Subaru? Oh, nice.
yeah, but it's not. It's the Impreza. It's not one of the
Mm,
Outback or anything. So
mhm.
I don't know. We'll see.
I have a, I don't talk about it often because it's not cool. It's such a like, but I have a Honda Fit. After that, I'm like, I'm only going Japanese cars. Had so many problems with that Chevy, and I had it like at 0 miles too. So it's like
Oh my goodness.
that's what I have
Yeah.
a different view with motorcycles. Motorcycles, fun factor first.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
The Honda
they
are great cars. They never break
really are.
down. So
Exactly, exactly.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Um, is there anything that either in your book or about motorcycles, um, or about mental health that you really wanted to get to today, that you really wanted to talk about today?
I think I just would love. Oh, you know what? There is one thing I want to say. It's somewhat
Mm,
off topic, but it's in the spirit of mental health awareness. As a psychiatric nurse,
mhm,
and Doodle probably understands this after reading my book. If you are having insomnia,
mm,
anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, anything, go to a psychiatrist or ask your
mm,
primary care physician to send you to a psychiatrist. Your primary
mm,
care
mhm,
physician will have their pad out ready to write you a prescription, but they don't really have the training to understand the nuances in the different medications.
mhm,
So make sure you're getting, if you feel like you need, and I'm not like a person that's like, oh, you have to go on meds or you have to not go on meds or you should
mhm,
never use it. Like, I feel like whatever you can find in your life to help you get through whatever it is that you're going through, it's personal, whether that involves medication, motorcycles, yoga, meditation, sobriety or not. It's
mhm,
it's really personal. But when it comes to prescription psychiatric meds, if that's something that you want to look into, please go to a psychiatrist because they
mhm,
understand the nuances of,
mm,
if you're
mhm,
stressed and anxious, there are some antidepressants that can make you more anxious.
mm, mhm.
Depressed, that's different. So it's stuff like that. And I had a lot of misdiagnoses and
Yeah.
terrible
Mhm,
medical treatment as the result of getting a medication from a well-meaning primary care provider. So
mhm,
that's something that I want to say as for mental health awareness month.
mhm,
But
mhm.
with motorcycles, if you're trying to get over fear, I feel like you have to find, something that's going to be your own journey. Like my husband could not sit on the
Yeah.
back of the motorcycle and sit there and help
Mhm.
not whiskey throttle. I had to, I
Oh,
had to do
yeah.
it times before I figured out what I was doing. You know,
Mhm, mhm,
you'll learn to
mhm,
trust yourself if you can,
mhm,
you know, be patient with yourself. Like Doodle and I were terrified for months, spent months in
mhm,
huts. I know you
mhm.
have for classes. At least I had my husband there to just make sure I wasn't killing myself in the parking lot.
Aw, moral support.
And
Aw, that's so sweet.
yeah, but
Mhm.
it's just be patient with yourself. People look like they've gotten successful at whatever it is. It always looks like it happened overnight, and it never is.
Yeah.
Never.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and yeah, not overnight and not easy.
No,
Plenty
no,
of struggles
yeah.
behind the scenes or not behind the scenes, but
Learn to just be in that moment and be like, this is scary. Okay, it's
yeah,
scary. You
yeah.
know?
Mhm. So, for those of you watching right now, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what Leslie was talking about. How when about the importance of like getting medication if you need medication from a psychiatrist, right? Is the right
Right.
term?
Yeah.
Psychiatrist, not like primary care physician, because
Right.
she talks about that in her book, how her primary care physician gave her like prescription drugs that ended up just completely like messing her up,
Yeah.
and it caused years and years of problems
Hmm.
um, because of that. So yeah. So I got distracted because Lone Wolf Ryan keeps trying to figure out if he really wants a left-handed motorcycle girl and is asking if either of us are left-handed. What a strange, specific thing to ask.
I know.
What?
Well,
Ryan, we're both taken. And this is not a date. This is not a dating website. This is not a dating YouTube channel. You're
yeah.
gonna need to go on like a dating site for that.
Yeah.
But
They split
yeah.
there.
What's that?
They try to split in there. I love how you're always showing videos of you blocking people for being creepy.
Mhm. Yeah, that oh yeah. I've actually stopped reading my comments as much as I used to. I used to open up my phone every day and read comments. But Paul, I'm not a dating site. What? He's just kidding around though. I'm familiar with Paul in the comment section. Um, but yeah, I've just I just get so many trolls these days, which the positive side of that is it's just because like everything on channel is doing much better like than last year. Like it's like doing like getting like 2 or 4 times the views in the first couple days that we used to last year.
Hmm.
So that's great. But then that also means like a whole lot more
Right.
trolls, and it's like,
Right.
yeah, the video I posted on Tuesday was just like a road trip packing video. So I thought, oh, you know what, this is not like a popular video at all. So maybe I can go in and maybe it'll be safe. And even just like by day number 2, there was like a very aggressive troll in there. I'm like, oh gosh. So but yeah, so if you've noticed that, sorry y'all, I haven't been ignoring you. It's just for my mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I'm a sensitive person, and
Yeah.
that
Me too.
stuff, yeah, I'd love to say that stuff doesn't get to me, but it does. And for the most part, like y'all watching are just so friendly and kind, and I've started to recognize some of your names and faces, just because y'all are like, I just, yeah, y'all are great. And then, but every now and then the negative
Yeah.
one just
Yeah.
stays and lingers. So so that's why now I just respond to comments in the first day of videos releasing now. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
yeah,
I hear you. But it's nice
yeah.
to know that,
Mhm,
you're not the only one.
mhm,
Because I
mhm,
think a lot of women have thought that those kind of things, like you're like, ooh, what did I do? And
mhm, mhm.
the creeps are creeps and it has nothing to do with us.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
didn't ask for it,
Yeah.
circus.
Yes, exactly. Oh, man. But, so anyways, Leslie, back on your story and your books. I could talk about trolls for longer than I'd like to
Yeah.
ask like, talk about. Yeah, so back on Lola, Leslie. Oh, also so Lola is your nickname. Where did that come from?
That's right. Because I don't talk about that in the book, but I had
Uh-huh.
people would always call me Liz. Oops. People would always call me Liz
Mm,
or Lisa, to the point
mhm,
where I just answer to it. Like, oh, I
mhm,
know they're talking to me.
mhm.
And I think when I don't know what it is, people be like, you don't look like a Leslie. I'm like, what does
Oh.
a look like? And they're like, I don't know, like a blonde
Oh.
something. So
Uh-huh.
when I well, what do
That's
I look
funny.
like? And he's like, give me a couple of weeks. And he came back with Lola.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I could see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
it stuck. It was a good
Mhm.
nickname because I could tell when people forget my name is Leslie
Mm,
and they say Lola. Like it'll just
mm,
come out of their mouth. Like they know
mhm,
my name's
mhm,
Leslie, but they're like Lola.
mhm. Yeah, oh, I could see that. Yeah, when I actually thought you were Hispanic before I found out you were half Filipino.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So I could see that Lola. Yeah, I see that. Lola suits you well.
See? Yes. What's funny means grandma in Filipino.
Oh.
Maybe
That's
someday I'll
funny.
be the riding grandma when I, give me another couple decades.
Aw,
It'll
that'd be
Lola
cool.
suiting me.
What's that?
Lola will
What do
keep on suiting me as a nickname. Well, I'll
There
be
you go.
all the lady riders someday.
Yes, exactly. Aw.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I think what I might do is start um having you answer some questions from the chat. That
Sure.
sounds good. All right. So I have some questions I took a screenshot of that I'll start with that were earlier in. But y'all, if you have some questions, you can submit them now and I'm going to get to them.
Mhm.
And yeah, all right. So first question I had was Dave123 asked, did Leslie Slate how long ago she started writing?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
almost 2 years ago that I got my
Mhm.
license. And I spent 8 months in a parking lot.
It's so long. And that's great though. I think that's so important for people to know, like, you stay where you want. Like, who cares what anyone's telling you or if anyone's trying to push you to go
Yeah.
to the next step? Like, it's your life, it's your motorcycle. If you don't even want to ride it, if you just want to have it in your garage to look at, that is your right.
Business. And you know
Yeah.
what? People in California and over here in Los Angeles that have so much money, they actually do that. One of my friends bought a Triumph that had like 50 miles on it because the guy just had it in his living room.
Wow. As a decor piece. Yeah, but and I also think it's so important because if if someone forces you to take the next step in writing before you're ready, like that you have that in your mind, like I'm nervous, I'm scared, I don't want to do this. Like you I just think that's a dangerous place to be in.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um and next question. Jenny Liss asked, congrats on your first book. Such great life lessons. Do you have any more books planned?
I am working on one. I have kind of put it down
Oh.
in the release of this book, but I'm working on another book about adult women on the autism spectrum, because
Mhm,
that was something I found out while I was writing this book, was
mhm,
that I was on the spectrum, and that's where
mm,
my issues came from. And the number one
mm,
misdiagnosis for women that are on the spectrum is bipolar disorder or borderline
mm.
personality disorder, which is a nightmare.
Yeah. Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
like, because if you really aren't bipolar and you really don't have borderline personality disorder, it's
mhm,
you just feel all kinds of shame because you can't figure out why you can't fix certain problems
mm,
that you're having.
mhm, mhm,
Because, like, if you're trying to cure diabetes with heart medication, it's not going to work. So
mm,
yeah,
mhm.
the right diagnosis
Yeah.
is huge. So I want to talk about, there's a lot of unconscious bias in the medical field, and that women are not really getting the right kind of treatment, especially when it comes to ADHD or any kind of
Mm,
diversity. It's not
mhm,
a mental illness, it's a different way of processing information. So
mm,
I
mhm.
shine a little light on that.
How did you find out that you were on the spectrum?
Um, well, I had a therapist that I was talking to for like the last 5 years, and she specialized in spectrum disorders. And some of the things I was saying, she would say, a lot of my adult patients that have Asperger's syndrome, which is
Mhm.
now considered just a spectrum disorder. They don't diagnose you with Asperger's anymore. She's like, but
Mm,
a lot of the things that you say remind me of that. And then, believe it or not, the YouTube algorithm kept bringing up video you might be interested, and it was adult women on the spectrum. And probably,
oh,
yeah, I watched a TED talk of this adult woman who had very similar experience to me, being misdiagnosed, um, uh,
whoa.
medicated inappropriately, and what a nightmare it was. And I was
Mhm.
crying because I was like, this, holy crap. So
Oh my gosh. The algorithm, it's like freaky how good it is. Like I
scary.
love YouTube for that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it knew you that well that it
Yeah.
holy
Yeah. I picked a book called, oh, I keep forgetting what it's called. It's called, oh, Divergent Mind. It's about neurodiversity in women. And
Mhm.
she said the same thing. She said, my Facebook page kept suggesting videos and books about women on the autism spectrum because, yeah. And I'm like, that sucks that the
Wow.
is the doctors aren't seeing it in women, but the computer was seeing it. So
Wow.
when
That's
I found
wild.
he had experience with that medication, I was on this medication that you can read about it in my book that just put me over the edge. And a lot of
Mhm.
psychiatrists don't even realize that that particular medication is highly like it causes chemical dependency. It's
Mhm.
highly addictive.
Mhm.
But the current doctor that I have, he has extensive experience with that drug. So I'm in a really good place now. But I
Mhm.
took one for the team, guys. you know,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Lola. Oh man. All right. Eddie Ayala asked, "Can you ask her if writing can help with depression?"
I felt like it did, and it wasn't a quick fix.
Mhm.
When it helped me with depression, it's not because, woo, I'm on the bike and the wind's blowing through my hair. That's an amazing experience altogether,
Yes.
right? But
Mhm.
really, the antidepressant part for me was going through all that, taking all those little steps, and then realizing how well they paid off, and that I
Mm.
could do this thing that I always wanted to do. And
Yes.
the reward is the ride, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
the antidepressant part was the process. Was learning how to allow myself to be scared and not give up when I felt like I should be further along. I mean, there was times I grew up in New Jersey, and the word poser was like a big insult back then because everyone wanted on Bon Jovi. And so like there's this you're just a poser. You're not for so I was like, I'm just a
Mm.
poser. I'm not a real motorcyclist.
Aw. Oh, I got so much of that too, but
Don't you
just because
did.
yeah, just because I wasn't I mean, I was barely riding if on the weekends, but it's like, I mean, I was still scared to ride. I hadn't left parking lots yet. I was still working full time. I had family and friends that didn't ride that I wanted to still see, but
Yeah.
it's like yeah, it's like you don't have to do something hard to do it. Like
Yeah.
you can and yeah, it's people can be judgmental.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, you can just who cares? Because like you'll never even remember those people
Yeah.
that had something to say. But you know what's funny now? When like if somebody's being mean to me on the internet or leaving a nasty comment, I'm just go, I bet you can't ride a motorcycle.
Tell them. Well, what if they can? Then what? Then what do you say?
Well,
Then just say, "Well, you can't ride it well."
yeah.
Bet your U-turns aren't very sharp.
What was that?
Bet your U-turn their U-turns aren't very sharp.
Or like I bet you couldn't ride with just one foot down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New insults.
Some your motorcycle loves you when the world doesn't. It's true.
Oh, that's right, though. All right, Beth Martinez asked, "How do you like your zero motorcycle, Lola?"
I
This is
really
Lola.
I love it.
Mhm.
Somebody else also asked about the range anxiety. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
it's real. You know,
Mm.
I got the base model, so it doesn't go that far, and I didn't realize I was going to be ready to go further so soon. Because for me, it
Mm.
was zero
Oh.
to not just the bike, but because it's fast, but with my fear, it was like I was in the parking lot. And then I spent one day riding around spent a couple days riding around some quiet neighborhoods. And then it was like I wasn't afraid anymore because all
Mm.
little building blocks in the foundation had
Mhm.
added up. But yeah, and so depending on how many hills there are, how fast I'm going, if there's a lot of traffic lights and I'm doing a lot of lane splitting, the bike will get like 100 miles a charge. But if I'm like
Mm. Oh,
going
wow.
canyons, it's like it'll suck up half like 50% within just like miles. So yeah,
Oh no.
I kind of wish I got like, but they were so big and heavy. Like that, the next models up are like twice as much of the range. So,
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. Um,
but it's a
I don't know
fun,
if you. It's what? Say it
it's
again.
a ride, a fun
Oh
ride.
yeah. Oh yeah. I bet. So like, yeah, just like riding on glass. Like I used to say chimes were the smoothest, but that was until I rode an electric bike, and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm even on the road. I feel like there's no contact from the tire. I feel like I'm just
It's like
floating, flying.
like in Star Wars, right? The speeder bikes.
Uh, I'm not familiar with that, but I bet a lot of people
I know
watching are.
people are. Empire Strikes Back. People will know what I'm talking about. Oh, no,
Oh
Return of the Jedi. Sorry, they're
yeah.
on. It's like motorcycles, but they don't touch the ground. They just.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Hmm.
Ooh. We were gonna Cody and I were gonna watch the old Star Wars movie
Yes, those were the best.
again more recently. Is Empire Strikes Back one of the old ones?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Empire Strikes
So I'll
Back,
watch.
Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And
Okay.
those are the three originals. So
Okay.
on the third one, you'll know what I'm talking about. The speeder bikes. When you see them, you're,
Mhm.
oh yeah, that's an electric.
Blackhawks says, yeah, speeders. Yeah, the last time I watched it, it was before I started riding, so I like didn't even notice motorcycles. And now I'm like, ooh, I saw a motorcycle in this movie, and that movie, and that movie. Like, I start to notice. Yeah, I'll literally sometimes like if I'm on the plane, I'll like there's nothing else to do but pick a movie to watch sometimes, and I've definitely picked a movie just because there was a motorcycle in it, even
Yeah.
if it was just a few seconds. Um, what was the one I watched that I never would have picked otherwise? Gemini with Will Smith.
Oh,
Not usually my kind of movie. Like I like lighthearted things, but that one not because I saw in the trailer there was like a glimpse of a dirt bike.
yeah.
So I watched the whole thing just for that because of that. It turned out to be a good movie though. But. Okay. Next question was Beaver Puncher asked, "Did writing help the most, or did writing and entering a community of like-minded individuals help more?" And I'm guessing Beaver Puncher meant like help as in like maybe
Yeah.
your anxiety or your fears.
Well, you know what? It really was I mean, honestly, the community was a bonus because I think for me, it was learning to trust myself, like the motorcycle being such a thing. It's so individual. Everybody's journey is so different, and being able to really not give up, like literally, right? Being in a parking lot for months and months and months and riding these really boring neighborhoods for months just to get
Mhm.
comfortable. That was the thing that really helped with the depression and anxiety the most, I think,
Mm,
was the having the faith in myself.
mhm. Yeah, it's like you um just gain more confidence in yourself because you're doing something that you think is really cool, and then you're like, oh, maybe I'm a
Yeah.
little cool too.
But it definitely forces you to be in the present moment. Like I'm really, really paying attention so sharply to everything that's going on around me. That's even
Yes.
like I do like that the motorcycle is quiet. I know that freaks a lot
Mm,
of people out, but I just assume no matter what bike, I don't care how loud my bike is. I know
mhm,
that when I'm in my car and I'm on the freeway and my music is blasting, I don't care how loud your motorcycle is. I can't hear it till you're right here.
mm,
I just assume no one can see me, no one can hear me, no matter what I'm on. But
mhm,
what's about the quiet electric motorcycles, I feel like I can hear what's around me.
mm,
So I
mm,
aware. Uh,
mhm,
so it doesn't matter if someone can't see me because I can see
mm,
and hear them. So that's why I personally like, there's this big loud pipes save lives, argument. Well,
mhm. Which
I'm
there's no data behind that, just by the way. I'm just gonna put
yeah,
that out there. Mhm.
yeah. And like I said, deaf people are allowed to have driver's licenses. So
Mm,
there's that too. I don't hear anything around me
mm, mm, mhm.
when I'm in the car and I'm singing and I got the music going. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of a time that I've noticed a motorcycle because 'cause I've heard it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways. So Blackhawk asked, oh, you must have seen this one because Blackhawk asked, do you find yourself with range anxiety, a term used for fear of running out of charge in EVs? So
That
yeah,
is
you
a
did
thing,
just answer that.
sadly. That's my, like, and I want to get a trailer like you had, Doodle, because I want to be able to bring
Mm.
the motorcycle to the canyons and things like
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
but my bike again it's like the base model. The more advanced models probably won't have range anxiety like I do. Like, I don't
Mm.
go on the freeway because it just uses up so much range.
Mm, mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, do you ever watch Bikes and Beards videos?
Yes, yes, I love
Yes.
watching.
Yes. Did you see his video where he attached like a little mini trailer to an electric motorcycle? Or was it like a lawnmower or something? Basically something to charge it as he rode. Like
Oh,
not something you're gonna actually use, but I thought it
yeah,
was hilarious because
you tow the car behind something and the wheels going, it charges the bike. Yeah,
oh, neat. I didn't know that. So the wheel turning charges the bike?
yeah.
Or do you have to plug in your bike or both?
I don't know. I was watching Long Way Up. Did you see that?
Uh-uh.
You Gregor? And
Mm-mm.
they ran out of charge and they had nowhere to charge, so they were towing the bikes behind. Then because the wheels were going, I guess it
Mm,
charged the bike. It gave the
mm,
bike charge, and I'm like, cool.
mm. Oh, neat. I didn't know that. How do you charge your bike? Do you plug it in or can the
I
wheel move in
spent all this
that
extra.
way?
I upgraded my bike to have a charge tank, so it's got the thing that goes into the electric cars, so I
Mhm.
could charge it. It takes 45 minutes to charge it that way. Um,
Mm,
my apartment currently is so old that I haven't plugged the bike in because it's about like a hair dryer. It pulls about the
mhm.
same as a hair dryer or maybe a refrigerator when it's
Oh,
charged.
wow,
So I'm like
interesting.
afraid because this building was built in 1960 and some of
Mhm.
the outlets only have two prongs. So I'm just like,
Mm,
so I just go because luckily in LA there's a free one a couple blocks away from me, and they
mhm.
just opened up a shopping center like next door to my apartment that has
Oh,
charge.
nice.
Yeah,
Oh, so you
so I
can
just
just park at the shopping mall.
Mhm.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Um, and the last question I had was from Tarek Saleh. Sorry if I said that wrong. How do you get over the fear? I love to ride, but I just keep bogged down with bad thoughts while riding. Takes a bit away from the experience.
Yeah, it does. That's how I was.
Mhm.
Um, some of the practical things that honestly helped me get over the fear because I think turning was scary, right?
Mm,
Um, you just keep your head up and look where you're going. Like
mhm,
if you're really focused on your skills,
mhm,
then you don't have time to be as afraid.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I always found that I was afraid when I was like looking down, looking at things that I might hit, looking at things
mm,
that hit me. And when I just started focusing on how fast am I going and, you know,
mm,
looking in the direction I want to go, like that to me gets rid of a lot of that fight or flight response feeling.
mhm,
You're like focusing as soon as you start looking down or into curves or you start thinking, oh, I don't want to, like, oh, that's another thing. Make sure if you're thinking about what you don't want to do, you got
mhm,
to think it in the opposite way. So if you're thinking, I don't want to hit the van on the side of the road,
mm,
instead I want to make this turn.
mm, yes,
Because
yes,
if you don't want to hit the van, you're going to go right into it.
yes, mhm, mhm,
Mhm.
yes. Um, and I think if Tarek, if you meant like if you're maybe you've been riding longer too, um, maybe it's like thinking of the statistics. I'm just guessing. I don't know. He didn't say it.
Yeah, it's so funny because I do notice though when even to this day, it seems like such a silly thing, but as soon as I start feeling afraid on the motorcycle, I ask myself, am I looking in where I'm going? Because if you're thinking about it, you're not actually looking where you're going.
Mhm.
So it seems like such a, a weird thing. Really, that's just going to get rid of the fear. But for me, that was like 50% of it, at least 60%.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
do try to go into parking lots every now and then, and the
Mhm.
Zeros have storage areas because there's no engine. There's just a motor.
Mm.
So there's
Oh, yeah,
big
uh-huh. I didn't think
spot.
about that.
I keep a little set of cones in there, and I'll pull over
Oh, nice.
out. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, nice. That's awesome. Um,
That shot is so helpful to feed my head, heart, and soul. Thank you too so much. Aw.
aw. Oh, wow, you are good at figuring out the abbreviation. I saw the TYSM U2, I'm like, "What is that?" You
Yeah,
know
you're terrible with those.
that. That was good, and you did that fast too. Nice. Um, all right, Lola, so, we are just at 1 hour. Um,
Oh,
before
that's
I know, right? Before we go, before I do a little outro and anything any anything you wanted to say, anything you would have liked to mention. You know what? Actually, before that, let me show this the first time right here that I met Lola right there through her picture and through this little expert that I'll read for you. And that is Leslie rides a 2021 Zero S electric motorcycle. She's a mental health and psychiatric nurse, took the MSF course just after her 50th birthday. She says motorcycles have helped her manage her anxiety and has recently finished writing a self help memoir, The Zen of Learning to Ride a Motorcycle. Literally, now, one of my favorite books of all time. Like, I like can't wait. So I every like 1 or 2 years I rewatch or reread things I really like because I forget about them. So I'm like looking forward to forgetting enough of this to be able to read it again because I know I'm gonna enjoy it again
Yeah,
as
and
much as
Doodle
I did the first
is
time.
we've
Oh
she's
yeah,
right
that's true.
there.
That's true. I have a little quote on her book.
Yeah, yeah. You've been
Oh,
so much for supporting my book.
of
You're,
course.
you know,
Yeah, I
I think
think.
the book wouldn't have happened without you, honestly, because
Aw.
like I said, I saw your little red helmet and your little cheeks were like it was in my mind when I said I want to learn to ride again. I'm like, this girl can ride. I can ride. Damn it,
Yes, you can.
you
Yes.
can.
I'm so glad to hear. Yeah, and Lola, I'm so glad you hopped on. Everybody, thanks so much for being here and sending your questions. Um, oh wait, hold on a second. I think I see one more question that I don't want to miss. Doesn't you? Oh no, never mind. I think Fee was asking someone else in the chat a question.
Okay.
But yeah, so Lola, thanks so much for being here. And if you want to get her book, you can buy it on Amazon. I linked it in the description. I literally could not put this book down, and yeah, it's just a
So happy.
relatable, awesome story. So yeah, thanks for being here, Lola. Thank
Thank you.
you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you for being an inspiration to so many women.
Oh,
You
thank
really
you,
are. Thank
thank
you.
you. Oh.